So happy Tuesday morning. This is going to be a fun overview. First of all, I'm going to go over what the 1004 MC is and why it's used. And I'm going to give you a couple of slides that are going to show you exactly how to set up your own. Then we're going to get out of here and we're going to go ahead and create our own. Okay. So probably should have set up my Flex MLS. That probably would have helped, but let's just go ahead and get started. So the 1004 MC is a standard form used by real estate appraisers, originally mandated by Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac to analyze micro-level market trends in a specific neighborhood. Okay, so I use it and it used it to show broader scope changes that are occurring in Maricopa County and also in the 10-mile radius. You see me use this every office meeting. See, this is from the last office meeting, right? This is the general Maricopa County single family home breakdown. And we're going to look at kind of what this actually stands for. And you'll notice that I've broken down the main components up on the top. You'll see them again here in just a second. The key market indicators are the median sales price of 510 had decreased by $2,500. The median list price decreased by 6,000, and the housing supply decreased by just about a quarter of a month. Okay. So, but I had highlighted all of those for you, but let's talk about what these actually look like. So if we actually look at each of these and think about what the inventory and sales volume is addressing, it's talking about the total settled sales, right? And if you look at this, this is just one report. I just spliced it so could make it a little larger for you. But if you look on the far left side, the first column of numbers, it says the 7 to 12 months. So if you're going out a year, that's in the year, those are months 1 through 6, right? It's 7 to 12 months back. But if you think about a year ago, it would be the first 6 months prior to where we are. And then the next 3 months, and then the last 3 months, right? The current to 3 months. So the total settled sales, when you look at this, it dropped from the first half of the year from 22,000 down to 13,000. And then it sits now at 13,795. So really the last 3 months and the 3 months prior to that didn't shift very much. Okay. But you can see the adjustment there. So the absorption rate, which I don't actually usually talk about, but it's there, is that dollar symbol should not be there. Sorry. It shifted from 3715 is the total sales divided by the months, which is probably why I don't bother to go through this, because that would everybody be like, what? But if you take the number above and the total sales, you're going to get that absorption rate, right? And I usually look at it in the housing supplies where I usually focus on that, but the active listings increased from 9,176 to 13,000 in the current 3-month period. Okay. So, and that's in the total number. If you go up right there to see that total number of active listings, you have to make sure when you're sorting this, you don't just put closed data. You have to pull the active data so it pulls all of those numbers with it, right? And the months of housing supply bounced from 2.47 months down to 2.19 in the middle there. And then it went back up to 2.98 months, right? Now, if we think about that, that's the prior 4 to 6 months, right? That's January 31st to April 30th. So that's right at the height of our market. If you think about people writing contracts in January, they're closing in February and March. So that's not all that unusual, because that's really one of the higher points of our market conditions here in the Phoenix area, right? Phoenix, Scottsdale area. So let's look at the bottom half of the chart, right? This is talking about the sales price, days on market, list price, and then the median percentage, right? So this is talking about pricing and exposure. What is happening when things are being listed and how are they moving forward? So the median sales price 7 to 12 months ago was at 505. Funny thing, the 4 to 6 months, it went up to 515. Why? Because people were buying homes, right? And then it went back down to 510. So not a huge shift in any way, shape, or form, but it does make sense when you think about the cycle of our market, right? And so that's not unusual. That's a pretty solid, stable portion there that sales price is only adjusting in essence by $5,000 to $10,000 over an entire year. Remember, that's averaged over a whole year. Okay. Days on market is the median comparable sales days on market. It went 59 days down to 50 and sits currently at 52 days on market. Remember, these are single family homes all over Maricopa County. Median listing days on market dropped significantly from 133 to 71 days. I have no idea why that happened, but that's actually a good sign, right? In the median days. So kind of interesting that. So the sales to list price ratio, this is very tight, moving from 98.74% to 98.87 to 98.91. That is not much of a shift. One. That's weird. Well, I'm still recording, I'm hoping. That's interesting. So my question to you is, why does this look so familiar? Do you know where else you see all of these exact data and information? Any guesses? No? How about your appraisal report? This is literally what is on your appraisal report, right? If you take a look, ta-da, that's exactly what is on the appraisal report. That's why the appraisers use R1004 MC and put it on their report. That's literally where they get their numbers from to show what are they looking at? Why do they use the 1004 MC? Because it gives the lenders and underwriters a snapshot, an objective snapshot of the risk in the immediate market area. Now, obviously, I'm doing all of Maricopa County, right? But when we narrow it into the 10-mile radius, and that's still even huge, right? But you narrow it into a neighborhood, you can see, is that neighborhood going up? Is it going down? Is it flat? And that's what they're looking at. What's happened over the last year? So it provides transparency to lenders. It gives the lenders and underwriters, again, oh, I did not change that slide. I don't know what that sentence says. So there was obviously, I repeated the same exact sentence there. It determines time adjustments. So this is where they sometimes will, an appraiser, if they're going back 9 months and looking at a comparable, and they show that the market has gone down, they're going to adjust that comp down in price, not up, right? Because if the market has gone down from there, they're going to adjust that pricing downwards. That's why they're looking at this. What is happening with the market? Is it staying flat? Is it going up? If all of a sudden the market increases, they're going to adjust that from 6 months ago if the market has shifted. Okay, so key data analyzed is what we were just talking about, right? So it tracks comparable properties over 3 sequential timeframes. We've already talked about this: the prior 7 to 12 months, the prior 4 to 6 months, and what they're saying is the current 3 months, right? To measure the momentum, what is shifting, the inventory trends tracking comparable sales, active listings, the absorption rate, which is sales per month, and months of housing supply, which is you've got this many on the market. How long, with the number of people buying, how long is it going to take to absorb those, right? Pricing and market metrics measures the median sales price, the median list price, the list to sale price ratios, and the days on market. Here you go. You've got distressed and concession impact. It analyzes the prevalence of seller concessions, such as closing costs and foreclosure REO sales that could depress neighborhood values. That's where they make their adjustments. So let's talk about building our own 1004 MC. I have a feeling people had a different link for today. That's why they're not on, but that's fine. We'll record it. They'll get it later. So let's talk about building your search area near your subject or in the area you're researching, right? Because I've talked about create your own CMA, right? So you can use this if there's a neighborhood you're searching, you can do a 1004 MC, watch what the trends are, keep an eye on it, see what's going on in that area for a year or a year and a half, see what has fluctuated, right? So for full results, you need to do active, UCB, CCBS, pending, and closed. Do not include coming soon, and do not include expireds or canceled, okay? At the end of this, you can take a photo of the slide if that's what you wanted to do. Wait till the slide is over. So set the dwelling type. So I think it's really important you set, are you looking at single family homes? Are you looking at condos, apartment style, right? Are you looking for townhome and patio homes? What type of home are you looking at? Because you don't want to have weird variables in there. You need to know kind of the type, at least the type of home you're looking at, right? Now, you can add other options, but remember, the more you limit, the more restrictive your data is going to be, and it could become skewed, right? So, pool, maybe parking, maybe lot size. Are you looking someplace where you are looking specifically at acre lots? Well, then start it at just under an acre. Don't start it at 5,000 square foot lots. If you're trying to see what the trends are for acre plus size lots, that's a totally different beast, right? So you want to go ahead and narrow that down if that's specific in the area you're looking. Sometimes you're looking at neighborhoods, they don't have anything between, everything's going to be 7,000 to 13,000 square feet. Don't put a lot size in there, right? But you're in this cactus corridor where you've got horse property, half acre, acre lots. You should be adjusting your lot size so you're getting the right type of homes to compare to one another. Because otherwise you start getting, a 2,800 square foot home on a 10,000 square foot lot versus a 2,800 square foot home on an acre lot. You're not comparing the same thing, okay? And for your take of what you're doing to try and do this 1004, you're not doing the broad Maricopa County that I'm doing on mine or even the 10-mile radius. You want to kind of narrow it down. So what you're going to do then after you've created your search is click on the top icon that says CMA. Okay. So I think that's there's one more. I think that's if you want to take a photo of that slide. I think that's where you are. I think so. Here I can do one more. Oh, there's one more. There you go. So create your search area near your subject or in the area you're researching. And again, you do that CMA. Okay.
Okay, I have a question.
Okay.
What if you have an area where you have one car garages, two car garages, and you have carports? How do you determine that?
If it's an older part of town where the primary is the carport, I would not select a garage at all. I would leave that off because the majority of them are going to be one or two car carports. And then if you have infill, you'll have the garages, but I don't think that that's going to make, there isn't enough of a quantity, unless, you've got, if you're doing an area that's like two different subdivisions and one all has two car and one has carports, I would separate and do one subdivision versus the other. Mostly like that infill is going to be years newer and you would want to separate it in that scenario. Okay. So, all right. So you're going to use select all results. I don't know why my little guy is in the way here. Let's see if I can get it out of the way. Right. So you're going to go up to this top thing that says use all results. Because if you don't, so if you don't, you're not going to get all that data, right? And oftentimes I think the mistake people make is they just do the sold listings. Then your active data and all of the transition, the entire year of movement doesn't come up correctly. So you need all of that to give you the information. So the next thing you're going to do, is you're going to look, well, when you click on that, it's going to pull up this screen. And most likely, if you've got a full year of data, it should auto assign to statistical CMA. And the reason for that is because there's too much data there, right? You've got more than 200, 300 homes. You're going to have 10,000, 12,000 homes, most likely. I mean, I guess if you're doing it in a really small area, it may not pop over there. If it doesn't, click on statistical CMA. All we want are the stats. You are not going in here in this scenario and adjusting things, okay? So really, really important for that. So, and then you're going to click next. And then to set this up, it's going to auto populate with the total statistics because you're clicking the statistical CMA, right? And you're welcome to pull that. There'll be another thing. So you're welcome to leave that there if you want to see that, or you can print that separately if you want. But what you want to do is you want to uncheck the total statistics and check the Fannie Mae 1004 MC. You'll see that down below. See how I've checked that box. And then below that, you'll see, put the end date of the 1 year period. It must be less than or equal to today's date. So you go a year behind. Now, when I'm doing my report, I'm running it from the 30th or 31st of the month before, right? So when I was running the July report, I didn't include any of August. I didn't go a year back from the August date of our meeting. I go backwards from July 31st. So basically I do August 1 of last year to July 31st of this year. And I do that just so we have the full month period. So that's what we're looking at in my report. And so that there's consistency, and then you click next again. So, all right. So I think this means I need to escape out of here, and I did not set up my Flex MLS, which is going to make me scan this. Like I get the same two. Oh, it didn't. Oh, that's lucky. Okay. So we're going to just do a quick search. Let's do dwelling type of single family homes. And why don't we do this zip code of 850208, 85028, which is our zip code right here. Whoops, did it stay? There we go. Anything else specific you guys want? We'll just do that 85028 and see what happens. So here, I'm going to go up to the CMA in the upper right corner, right? And I'm going to say use all results. Oh, you know what? I did not do all this right. Leave that. Okay, I forgot something, right? So we've got to go up to status here. I forgot all of this. So we're going to do active, UCB, CCBS. We're getting rid of coming soon. And if you don't know, I'm hitting the control to get these specific individual ones, right? Pending and closed. And then I'm going to select the date range, right? So there are a couple things you can do. You do the closing date 365 days back if you want to do that. That's an easy way to get a year back. Or again, you can do of 25, you can do, whoops, is my screen going to let me do this? August 1st of 2025. If you click on this one, notice that this says 36, the little arrow to go backwards to 26. And I don't know how we're going to get to, let's see. I actually want, I want July 31st. So that's fine, right? So I could do August 1st to July 31st. Does that make sense? Okay. Now we got a lot more in there. It's giving us 354 units in all of those things, right? Now I'm going to go click on the CMA and I'm going to go use all results. We may have a problem seeing all of this. Shrink that down. Okay, so see, it automatically popped up for the statistical CMA. I didn't touch that. It didn't give me the option for the other two because it's a lot of data, even at only 350 units, right? So I just leave this at square footage as the average, what it's going to base off of. And then I don't know if you guys are familiar with the total statistics report. We can come back and look at that if you'd like, but I'm going to click on this now because I did this a little differently. I'm going to pick that July 31st right there, right? Because that's the last day, the end date of the 1 year period. Does that make sense for you guys? Okay. And so now what I want to do is I want to click view this. Now you can print it, that's fine, but I want to view it mostly because if I've made a mistake, I want to see that before I go to save it and everything else, right? It automatically saves, but and I left the statistical, I forgot to take that out. Okay, so let's go down here to the report. I wish I could clip it so it could make it a little larger for you guys, but where you will see the mistake is if up at the top, these numbers are like zeros, you know you have no active. Like if this is not saying active numbers in the third line down, total number of active, you know you've forgotten your actives, right? If the numbers on the very top line, comparable sales, and at the 7 to 12 months it says 0, you didn't go back the full year, right? It can only go back to the date you say to go backwards. So if you left it at the 181, right, which was preset for about 6 months ago, it's not going to show you anything for 7 to 12 months.
Your date, where it doesn't say 181.
On that, I'm just going to go back to here. So, let me just go backwards here. So when you have the status, on the bottom of that will be dates. Open up the dates, right?
I did.
See close of escrow?
Oh, at the close of escrow. Well, yeah, I've got that chosen, but it says 181.
Okay, so you can either, if you click those little black arrows, it goes between a single date or date actual days. Okay, so you're welcome. So let's go back over to here. So you can see this is saying, right, the total number of comparable sales that 7 to 12 months was at 126. And then that closed over those 6 month period. And then in the 3 month period following that, 86 closed, and now we're down to 71 closed. Now, if you think about it, 126, because that's over a 6 month period, right? Half of that is about 60. So again, that 4 to 6 month period was the stronger sales period. Not surprising, it was January 31st to April 30th, right? So very solid period of time. I guess we could have just done it back. I guess we could have done it back to June of last year and then dropped off part of this so that 4 to 6 months was actually the, would hit 12/31. So you could see January, February, and March together, right? So you could do that. That's the only way to trick it, is to go back further and say your end date is, would have been June 30th, right? So go July 1 to June 30th to see that sweet spot in the prior 4 to 6 months of being all of January, February, and March. But it's fine. I mean, some of those obviously do close in April anyway, but you can see though that 86 units in 3 months is much stronger than the 7 to 12 months, right? Because if you cut that in half, that would only be about 63, right? And even so, we're still doing better in this last 3 months, even though all of us, everybody said the market is running slow, right? Well, this particular area, right? This is not everywhere, but 85028 is still moving properties, right? Total number of active listings, 43 were active on January 30th of 2026, 27 on April 30th, and 52 on July 31st. So what happened in the summer months? More people listed their homes, right? They haven't sold yet, though. That's the challenge, right? And if you look at the months of housing supply, though, it didn't skyrocket, right? It did not skyrocket. The absorption rate, if you look up above, has not modified that much. Total sales divided by months, right? So 21 sales per month is what that was talking about. 28 sales per month in those 4 to 6 months. And then we're back to 23, 24 sales in the last 3 months. That's that absorption rate, right? So with 71 properties on the market, it would take us just over 2 months to clear those out if we had the buyers doing that, right? Okay, but the median sales prices you can see here, again, the median sale price, those are closed sales in this area. 7 to 12 months was at 767. Look at this drop, folks. 4 to 6 months was almost $40,000 less. And then the current 3 is 715. So we've dropped $52,000 since the beginning of the year to currently. Now, 85028 is one of those funky neighborhoods, right? It is one of those that has $1 million homes and has $300,000 homes. I just selected single family. I did not select price range. If you wanted to narrow it down, of course you could do that, but you can see there is a shift there. That could very well be because of luxury homes, okay? So the days on market went from 50, 53 to 42, 41, 42. So less days on market currently, that's a good sign, right? And then you can see the list price shift from 739. Ooh, people were getting greedy, weren't they? 799. That top of the market, everybody's like, we're going to sell, we've got this. And they listed higher, and it's dropped, but only to 762. So our list prices are still very high, but that is not what they're selling for, right? So remember the phrase that's on those reports that Leah prepares, right? Be the best possible home, the best amenities in the best condition for a reasonable price. You're going up at these top prices, you're not moving, right? You're following the market. So the median comparable listing days on market, 81 days up to 110. Those homes that listed at 799 did not sell at 799. I'm okay. Some of them may have, right? But the point is, things sat longer because they were higher priced. And that's what happened. People got greedy, like, oh no, let's see what the market will give me. Well, probably didn't give you anything. You didn't sell, right? And then we dropped to 64. So that is a good sign that the most recent 3 months, people were, and they might have started high, but they must have been dropping those prices quickly because they were selling in 64 days. Does that make sense? And so the sales price is a percentage of list price. Yeah, I mean, they're not moving that much, but obviously we know some of these adjusted, even though this is saying 98% of the list price is what they sold for. Not quite sure that's exactly realistic. I mean, I know that's what the numbers are. These are legit numbers. I'm not making these numbers up, right? But that's fascinating. So a couple of them must have taken big hits to get that median days on, median list price to median sales price to be such a wide gap of $50,000, right? Because you're looking, I guess, 45,000, whatever. So, all right. Any questions on those?
I do have a question.
Yeah,
Can we go back and
Yep.
change it to June so we can fold
Yeah.
December
sure.
in just to see how it changes?
So we're going to go from July 1. Whoops. Why did that not do that? July 1 of 25 to June 30th, right?
Yeah.
So then we're going to go back to the CMA, use all results. And here the statistical pops up. We're going to click next. And then we got to click on this. Now here we've got to change this to the June 30th, right?
Yeah.
So we see that. And we'll view this and we can look at the statistical up here in just a minute. Will remind me and I'll come back up there. But,
Okay.
right, so here we go. That did not change as much as I thought. Right, so I've got the two here. So we actually had more sales with that April date than we did with the March 29th date, right? 70 in there and 86. Look at the June, well, July 1 through the end of December had 126, and the August 1 to the end of January had 126. So that number didn't change at all. Okay. But the middle months did change from 80 to 86. I'm sorry, 70 to 86. And this is 92 from really April, May, and June to 71. So little stronger, obviously, as we headed towards that May, June, July, right? April, May, June, actually had more of the sales than that. Must have been that January. January must have been light, which again isn't far-fetched, right? People between Thanksgiving and Christmas, we don't do a lot of closings unless people are timing their tax stuff. Those people want to be out at the end of December, right? But otherwise, they're taking their homes off the market to enjoy the holidays or putting them on closer to usually the middle to end of December, not in November. So they're closing in January. Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's go ahead and go up here. We're going to go to the other one that we had before, but let's go up here. So if you've never looked at the statistical market analysis, this is kind of fun to just see where your low, average, and high numbers are. And again, this gives you that peak, right? The high is at $5 million in 85028. Okay. So again, that's going to tell you, okay, should I adjust this? Like, I don't know how many of those, but you could have adjusted it by square footage too. Cause look, that square footage was 6,000 square feet, right? So you could have adjusted to be closer to 1,000 to 3,000 square feet. And that would have knocked that one out of there. Okay. And you can see where your days on market really skew with that one sitting on the market 153 days. It's still sitting on the market. It's active, right? But you can see that shift there. The CCBS, you've got one listing, 13 are UCB currently. And again, it goes up to 3.5 million, but that again is at 5,000 square feet. So you could have gotten rid of that one, I'm guessing, and that was on the market 218 days. So probably would make sense to remove these above 5,000 square feet. Because if you look at the closed, I don't know how many on that high end we're looking at, but 6 million or it's a $5 million and 9,500 square feet, 9,500 square feet sat on the market almost a year and a half, 416 days, right? Same thing for overall, that's going to be her high. So let's actually go back. Let's try this. So let's go back to this data and let's go ahead and put some square feet in here and see how much that adjusts these numbers, right? So let's just go ahead and say, let's say 1,400 square feet, and let's go ahead and do 3,200 square feet. So that's a wide range of homes, right? But we lost 45 homes, right? Let's take our dates back to what we had before. Let's go to July 31st and go back to Is that right? To June 30?
Yeah,
Is that what I had?
yeah. That's what it,
Okay.
June 30.
I know, but I think before I had,
You had July 31st before.
okay, so yeah, so this should be August 1,
Yeah. That was,
August 1 to July 31. Yeah, that's right. Okay, so 316, let's do the CMA. Let's see what this does. Again, statisticals there. Let's do the Fannie Mae. Let's view that one. All right, so let's go down to this. Okay, some of those numbers jumped dramatically or dropped dramatically, right? Because our original ones here. Yeah, we dropped, if you look at these absorption rate numbers, where am I? This is so I'm just going to go up here. Yeah, so the highest sales price here is a 3.3 million, but it was at 3,000 square feet. So that's fine. And you can see that all of these numbers, except the 4 to 6 months, are 18, 19 total sales to the month. And then this is 2567. If we go back to our original one, you can see that was at 28, right? So by removing that, you have adjusted a bit to see more of what is consistent. So these numbers down here should be a little more consistent. So 730, 720, 707 is the median sales price. 689, 725, and 750 basically, right? So you've still got a huge shift between the median sales price and list price, and some days on market, but it's not quite as high. So adjusted a little bit, but you can see that that trend is going down in price, right? So if an appraiser's looking at something that was sold in, say, November of last year, and that's your comparable, they're gonna have to adjust the price down because it's $23,000 difference. Does that make sense? And that's why people are like, I don't understand. It sold for this amount, 6 months ago, it was great. And the appraiser's like, yeah, but the market was declining. The market is declining, right? And so that's why when you read that appraisal report and says the market is slowly declining, that's what they're referencing. Okay. And you think this is a great sale to showcase, and you don't do your 1004 to see that, oh, wait a minute, if it's at that price, they're going to chop some dollars off of that. Okay. So this is one to do when you're looking at how is the market, what are the market conditions, and especially when you're taking listings, right? If you don't think having this and being able to try to explain it, you may go totally over their heads. But to explain that the market currently is declining, we want to be very advantageous at what we list your home for. Because if we list it too high, what's it going to do? It's going to sit. And then in 3 months, you're going to say, how come we haven't sold yet? Okay. So it's going to try and show you some of those trends. Now, I will tell you, if you're watching the condo or townhome market, that is a totally different beast. And you really have to go in your area, but it's possible that your little condo that you're looking at is totally different than anything else in the area. And that can be a problem because you can't get numbers that are really going to substantiate what you're trying to look for. So be careful on that, right? So what I mean by that is, so if you're working in, well, this area is probably not a bad area to look, right? You've got Anasazi next to, what is it, Altera, right? Next to Stone Creek. One was built in 2007. I don't remember when Anasazi was built, but 1970s, right? 1980s. Totally different construction styles, right? Some upgraded, some not upgraded, HOA on both of them, is through the roof. Both of them are at $600 a month, right? So
different elevators, to floors, to.
Right. Well, Altera also has the elevators. Altera has the elevators, newer construction though, but very pricey, but it has an underground garage. So you've got the underground parking, so your car is a little more secure. You get out of it and you go right to the elevator from down there rather than up on the, on the tarmac, so to speak, on the asphalt, right? So, but Anasazi has had poor management and they're trying to catch up from things that were not updated, right? But so you take those two, you can't really compare them to Taos on the other side of PV Parkway, right? You don't have any elevators, so you've got stairs going up, down, all different directions, right? So those two are not comparable. HOA is not going to be comparable. Yes, they're both gated communities and they're both townhomes, okay? They're not comparable to one another. So be careful when you're doing that. I think the single family is a little easier to do. But I mean, just play with it and look at what the numbers are. Definitely go up to the statistical and just peek at it to see if you have any real obscure numbers. You could have a low, if all of a sudden one of these lows is $200,000, you're like, wait a minute. Now it does say overall there was a low of 299, which is interesting, but right, I mean, for the most part, those other numbers are in relatively sync with one another, right? The low was at 525 list price. The pending low was at 610. The closed, yes, there was one at 299. I'd probably go try to figure out what that was because it sold for 330. So obviously it was a property in basic condition. Somebody's fixing it up and they got a run on their, they got multiple offers that bumped it up. But that may not be, you may just want to toss that one out if you can't, right? So figure out, is there something you can do? Again, price wise, maybe we go look for everything that's over 350, right? And see whether we get something at 350 or the next one is up at 475. Okay. You can do those little tweaks because if you've got something weird, just like that 5,000 square foot, 5,000 square foot properties, like, wait a minute, that's not what we're looking at in general. Okay. So hopefully that's something you'll start using. Yeah.
Take that,
What?
if property is only 2,000 square feet, but it holds a 5,000 square foot, do they take that into effect?
My guess is they narrow their search to, remember, they're looking at a specific property. So if you are you're listing a property and that property is, let's say, 2,800 square feet, 3 bedrooms, a 2-car garage, they may be putting some of those elements in there. I certainly would think they would do square footage. Now, they may not do it within 200 square feet. They may do it within 500 on each end, but they're going to narrow that down when they're doing it. And they probably will look at anomalies because, and again, this is just showing the trends, right? So they're looking to see the trends. Are they flat, up, down? What's happening over that year period? They're then having to go find very specific homes that are most comparable to your property. So same subdivision, year built, improvements, finishes. I mean, that gets where it's tricky when you've got these remodeled homes, right? Because you got a remodeled home that somebody came in and, yeah, they put tile countertops in the kitchen, right? It's like, ooh. Like, I've seen tile countertops. Oh, but it's granite tiles. Oh, that's nice. No, that's not nice. Like, that is not a granite countertop, right? Everybody's expecting a slab of granite, not granite tiles, right? So, I mean, you have to look for those things. The hardest is when you're looking at a community of homes that were built in the 1960s and it's updated, and then somebody wants to compare it to the new construction from 2 years ago. It's like, no, you can't. Does anybody know why you can't? What do you think? Other than location, which, okay, same location. Well, room sizes, yes, but I would say the mechanicals. So your main plumbing, electrical, So your main components, they may have put in a new air conditioner, but they probably didn't redo their ducts, right? They may have put new electrical outlets on, but they didn't run the wires, right? The plumbing may have nice faucets on there, but again, did they take out old PVC or galvanized or any of that stuff? It's like, oh, hold on a minute, that's a problem, right? So those are the reasons you don't usually take even an upgraded 1965 built home to something that was built, say, 2018. Because they really, their bones aren't the same, right? Right. You know, the windows may have been updated, they may not have been updated. So that's the challenge. Okay. Other questions? Frank? No? Learn something new. I learned something new. I had a great time doing that. So, oh yeah. Yeah, no, that makes a big difference. So, it really does make a difference when you're looking at renovation quality. And also look, I've seen homes here that have had a water leak in the slab. And, in order to correct that, you basically have to abandon everything that's in the slab and go up and over, which means literally cutting through drywall to rerun. Well, now they'd run the PEX, right? They wouldn't be running regular piping, they'd run PEX, but they still got to open the drywall and run all these lines all throughout the house. At, at your condo?
Yeah, the hot water outside, the pipe exploded underneath the sidewalk, and so they took it up and $30,000. By the time I was done, and insurance couldn't cover it. Really? Yeah. Oh, no. So
Because it was outside your footprint.
it's outside. I mean, I should have gotten an attorney, but I had just lost my son, and I just wasn't.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah, but it's outside the footprint is where the
yeah.
main, so your homeowner's insurance covers your plumbing basically under your house and within the walls. But when you go outside of that, it usually doesn't cover it. Yeah. So. Other questions? No? So you guys are gonna start using the 1004?
Oh, yeah.
Good, 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 good. Okay, I'm gonna stop recording here.
Well, I like how you explained it. The comparisons and everything. I think that's where I was kind of getting confused before because